A very good morning, children. Welcome back to Gurukul English Medium School, Standard 5, English subject, and Unit 2. So, as we begin Unit 2, first lesson in Unit 2, I'd like you to identify the insects which are shown on the screen. Yes, you're right. You can see butterfly, cockroach, spider, ant, housefly, mosquito, beetle, grasshopper, bee, etc. Now, what is it to do with our lesson? Yes, children, we are going to learn about a new insect. The insect which we have ever seen, which we have ever heard about. Yes, the lesson name is Triantiwontigongolope. I want you all to take out your textbooks, and as I'm reading, I want you to be with me and read the lesson along with me. There's a very funny insect that you do not often spy, and it isn't quite a spider and it isn't a fly. It is something like a beetle, little like a bee, but nothing like a woolly grub that climbs upon a tree. Its name is quite a hard one, but you'll learn it soon, I hope. So try Triantiwontigongolope. Here, children, in this stanza, the poet says that there's a funny insect which often spies. Now, spy here means to see. Now, here poet is comparing this insect with certain other insects which we know. How does it look? It does not look like a spider nor like a fly. We have the pictures of spider and a fly. Now, it is something like a beetle and like a bee. We do have the pictures of beetle, which is in red and black, and we do have a honeybee on top. So the poet is comparing the Triantiwontigongolope with a beetle and a bee. Here, children, we have two rhyming words. Spy, fly is the first set of rhyming words. Second one is hope, Triantiwontigongolope. Okay, now here in this poem we also find the difficult words. Maybe you do not know the meanings, or you might have heard these words for the first time. So let me just explain you what exactly beetle is. Beetle, an insect often large and black with a hard case on its back and wings above. Now, grub. Now, what is a grub, children? It's a young form of an insect that looks like a small fat worm. So, as shown in the last picture of the slide. Now, let's move on further. We will look at the second stanza of the poem. It lives on weeds and wattle gum and has a funny face. Its appetite is hearty and its manners a disgrace. When first you come upon it, it'll give you quite a scare. But when you look for it again, you find it isn't there. And unless you call it softly, it'll stay away and mope. So try Try. Triantiwontigongolope. So children, here in this stanza, poet says that the insect lives on weeds and gum. Now, what is a wattle gum? Wattle gum is obtained from the tree in the form of reddish tears or lumps. The first picture in this slide is a gum which is coming out of the tree. So the insect eats that, and also it eats weeds. Weeds are unwanted grass. Now here we find rhyming words face and disgrace. Disgrace is not very graceful. Okay, we have another word which we need to know the meaning of. Appetite. Appetite is desire for having food. Okay, hearty. Hearty is large. So these are the meanings of the words, and the last word in this stanza is mope. Mope is spending time doing nothing and feeling very sorry for yourself, being very idle, and later on you realize that, oh, what is this? I'm up to nothing. So these are the meanings in this poem. Okay, scare. Scare is getting scared of something. All right, children. Now let me explain this stanza. As I told you already, this insect lives on weeds and the wattle gum from certain trees. It has a funny face, its appetite is large, and its manners are quite disgraceful, which means not very good. And you must call it softly, or it will stay away, feeling very sorry for itself. The poet, once again in this stanza, tells us to try and pronounce it. This insect's name. So, what is the name of the insect's children here? Triantiwontigongolope. Let's move on to the next stanza. That's the third stanza. It trembles if you tickle it or tread upon its toes. It is not an early riser, but has a snubbish nose. If you sneer at it or scold it, it'll scuttle off in shame. But it purrs and purrs quite proudly if you call it by its name and offer it some sandwiches of sealing wax and soap. So try Triantiwontigongolope. Okay, so here in this poem we have two rhyming words at the end of the first and the second line, toes and nose. All right, and let's take a look at the difficult words in this stanza. Here, tickle, which means that if someone is trying to touch you in any part of the body, you will get some kind of sensation. That's called tickling. And trembles means excited or frightened. Okay, let's take a look at another word, snubbish. Snubbish, which means short, fat, and turned up at the end. It is mostly used for nose. How the nose is, that is what he is comparing with. Now, let's look at the meaning of sneer. Sneer, which means an unpleasant look or smile. Scuttle. Scuttle is to run with quick, short steps. Now, let us try to understand the meaning of this stanza, children. The poet over here tells us something more about this insect. It trembles if you tickle it or step upon its toes. What does it do? It trembles, a slight shiver when you tickle it, when you just touch it on its toes. It is not an early riser, which means it doesn't get up early. It has a fat nose turned up at the end. If you give it an unpleasant look or scold it, it will run away in shame with quick, short steps. But it purrs quietly, proudly, if you call it by its name and offer it some sandwiches. Even you like it, right? But the sandwiches which are given to this insect are of sealing wax and soap. So, this is about the meaning of the poem. So, can we try saying this again? Try Triantiwontigongolope. Let's move on to the last stanza of the poem. But of course, you haven't seen it, and I truthfully confess that I haven't seen it either, and I don't know its address. If there isn't such an insect, though there really might have been. If the trees and grass were purple and the sky was bottle green, it's just a little joke of mine, which you'll forgive, I hope. Oh, Triantiwontigongolope. So this is a poem written by C.J. Dennis. Children, now let's look at the rhyming words in the poem. The first two lines, the last two words of the first two lines. Confess and address. We have another set of rhyming words, hope and Triantiwontigongolope. Bean, green is another set. So children, these are the rhyming words which we have seen in this stanza. Now, let us look at the meaning of the stanza. Now, the poet finally gives out his secret. Now, what's the secret of this poem? The secret is that he truthfully confesses. He says that the reader may not have seen this insect, neither has he, the poet, nor does he know where it lives. He says that there isn't such an insect, but there might have been one, provided that the trees and the grass were purple and the sky was bottle green, which is not exactly. He says that it was just a joke and he asked the reader to forgive him. But at the end, he once again asked the reader to pronounce the name. So what is the name? Triantiwontigongolope. So he just says that it is a joke. There is no such insect. So it is just an imaginary creature for us to understand.